Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and JD Vance shows us exactly why he's Trump's vice presidential nominee, because he absolutely destroys this Meet the Press reporter. This is absolutely amazing. But before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our great sponsors over at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have the cure to Bidenomics and Harris inflation, but more on that later. Now, let's dive in.
Well, first of all, Kristen, I find it interesting how much the media and the Democrats have lost their mind over this particular quote. Donald Trump is talking about appointing a special prosecutor to investigate Joe Biden for wrongdoing. Joe Biden has done exactly that for the last few years and has done far more in addition to that to engage in a campaign of lawfare against his political opposition. I think what Donald Trump is simply saying is we ought to investigate the prior administration. There are obviously many instances of wrongdoing. The House Oversight Committee has identified a number of corrupt business transactions that may or may not be criminal. Of course, you have to investigate to find out. So I think Donald Trump saying, look, let's do the basic work of investigating wrongdoing is a totally reasonable thing for him to do. And frankly, the Biden administration has done far worse. So if you think that what Donald Trump is proposing is a threat to democracy, isn't what Biden has already done a massive threat to our system of law and government?
Senator, just to be very clear, though, Joe Biden didn't appoint a special prosecutor. The Attorney General did that. Trump was indicted by grand juries. He was found guilty by a jury of his peers in New York. But can we just go back to the core question here? Would you support him taking such an action? It sounds like you're saying, yes, you would.
I would absolutely support investigating prior wrongdoing by our government. Absolutely. That's what you have to have in a system of law and order, Kristen. But I have to reject the premise here. Joe Biden appointed the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, who, of course, answers to Joe Biden, can be fired by Joe Biden. So the idea that the Biden administration has nothing to do with the appointment of the special prosecutor, I think, completely betrays a misunderstanding of how our system of government actually works. And of course, Kristen, we have to make this point, Kristen, that the prosecution of Donald Trump in New York, which I think now is fundamentally been thrown in doubt by this immunity case, it was one of the main guys was a Department of Justice official in the Biden administration who jumped ship to join a local prosecutor's office to go after Donald Trump.
And yet the DOJ told
doesn't make you question the legitimacy of the prosecution. That's a problem.
Well, Senator, that happens all the time. People are appointed from Washington, but the DOJ told Congress, testified this week
Kristen,
that it reviewed
it happens.
Hold on, Senator.
Are you really saying, Kristen?
Senator, let me finish my sentence. Then I'll let you finish. Hold on.
The numbers.
Let me just finish this. The DOJ told Congress this week it reviewed all communications since Biden took office and found no contact between federal prosecutors and those involved with that case in New York. You are saying it's not okay for Joe Biden to weaponize the Justice Department. If it's not okay for Joe Biden to weaponize the Justice Department, as you say, which there's no evidence of that, why is it okay for Donald Trump to do that?
Well, Kristen, first of all, you said that it happens all the time, that the number 3 person in the Department of Justice jumps ship to join a local prosecutor's office to go after the president's political opponent. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of American democracy, and I don't think that we should legitimize it. Now, if Donald Trump's Attorney General had his number 2 or his number 3 jump ship to a local prosecutor's office in Ohio or Wisconsin, and that person then went after Donald Trump's political opposition, that's a different conversation.
Senator,
all he's suggesting is that we should investigate credible arguments of wrongdoing. That's all that Donald Trump is saying. That is not a threat to democracy.
So what's the problem here? What's the problem here? JD Vance is 100% correct. What Trump wants to do and simply investigate people that have been out of line for the past 4 years, that's a legitimate thing to complain about. And yet we have a corporate media press. I remember Meet the Press. All right, I remember it from a young age because the deal was when I went over to Nana and Granddaddy's house, when they would babysit, and I would have the opportunity to drink some Coca-Cola and have a nice pizza. The deal was if I watched Meet the Press with Granddaddy, I would get to pick whatever movie I wanted to watch. All right, that was the deal, and I abided by that deal. I had no idea what was going on, but he had a deep appreciation for Meet the Press. And then right around 2012, right around that time, he stopped watching a lot of mainstream media outlets. He was out. He had realized that these people, when it used to be on PBS, He had realized that they'd been ideologically captured and weren't honest anymore. That's what's going on here. And it's been going on for a long time. Hey, y'all, in case you haven't noticed, this has gone to this. It is absolutely insane. What the feds have done, constantly printing money, making sure that your dollar becomes less and less valuable, has hurt the economy and has probably hurt you in ways that you can't even imagine yet. That's why we partner with Colonial Metals Group. CEO Paul Stone and his associates understand the ins and outs of protecting your hard-earned dollars backed by gold, silver, and other precious metals. And they even have a limited time offer for first-time buyers. Free gold and silver IRA accounts. Insured storage for 5 years. Up to $7,500 in free silver. And a personal safe to keep all the good stuff. So go check them out. Link in the description below or call this phone number to talk to one of the many lauded associates at Colonial Metals Group to protect your hard-earned dollars today. And what's been going on is the press has become more and more partisan. And that's for a whole myriad of reasons, but the main reason is the people that still trust the press, the people who still watch this, are rich white liberals who live in their gated communities and live in their ivory towers, and they throw their chamber pots out every night, and they wonder why the people are mad because they feel the effects of the real world and the literal crap that's being flung out of there. This reporter, who is besmirching the name of Meet the Press, can't admit that there have only been a select few politicians in America that get any actual scrutiny. Donald Trump is one of them. Currently, Mayor Eric Adams is now getting media scrutiny because he has apparently done business and accepted money from companies based out of other nations. You're not allowed to do that in the United States. And funny, it's almost as if that there's a political family and honestly a political structure. Mitt Romney's kids are even culpable of this. What a lot of politicians do, because there's a handful of ways to make money if you're a politician. 1, write a book. 2, basically sell yourself for a speech, and you can make yourself a lot of money that way. Or you can have some good buddies at a business function, and you're good friends with them, and they give you a sweet deal on a new purchase of land, and all of a sudden that land becomes even more valuable. This is how the Clintons made their money the first time. The second time the Clintons made their money, they started selling themselves out more. But there's a fourth way and a fifth way. There's the stock trader way. It's where you tell your stockbroker, hey, pay attention to my committee meetings. Invest accordingly. That's technically legal. It's shady. But the fifth way, the biggest way recently, have your kids sit on some foreign oil board and they can funnel money right back to you. All right? The Romney's kids were actually found doing this too. But the big one was Joe Biden's son, Hunter, who has been on a Ukrainian oil board in 2014. And when that company was getting investigated, Joe Biden had a phone call placed. We have the recording, we have the tapes, and a phone call was placed to the head of Ukraine and said, hey, you need to remove your new prosecutors looking into Burisma. And the Ukrainian guy said, why? And Biden simply said, because I'll take your funding away. He was the big guy. He was indeed at the forefront of literal political corruption. And instead, they're talking about how dare Donald Trump threaten to investigate these shady people. How dare he investigate people like Merrick Garland, who has been on the warpath against Republicans ever since Mitch McConnell correctly said, no, sir, you are not allowed on the Supreme Court. Mitch McConnell did the right thing. Unfortunately, the Biden administration is incapable of doing the right thing. And the press is running point for them. Because how dare Donald Trump investigate the very people who refuse to investigate actual corruption? This is ludicrous. Absolutely insane. And J.D. Vance is just running circles around this woman. Because she's trying to defend the indefensible. And ultimately, J.D. Vance doesn't just have a point. He's absolutely right. These people need to be investigated because that's what a good democracy does. That's how you preserve democracy. And the Democrats have no idea how to do it. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.